Joe Bilancio reveals special highlights of the 2022 Outshine Film Festival Miami edition. Miami is known for its culture, and one of our favorite examples of celebrating that culture is the Outshine LGBTQ Film Festival. Visitors and locals alike are invited to join us from April 22nd to May 1st as Outshine brings you the best in LGBTQ independent films. The best part, if you don't live locally, you can watch many of the films from the comfort of your home. Get tickets at outshinefilm.com and watch this great interview with Joe Bilancio from Outshine to find out even more. Watch this.
News tonight, we're going to welcome Joe Bilancio from Outshine LGBTQ Film Festival. In 1998, the Miami Gay and Lesbian Film Festival began. 10 years later, the Fort Lauderdale Gay and Lesbian Film Festival formed in 2008. Both were brought together under one brand called the Outshine LGBTQ Film Festival, underscoring a broad appeal and dynamic multicultural location, in actually two locations. Critically and internationally acclaimed, the film festival serves as a platform for numerous premieres and is the largest LGBT cultural arts event in South Florida. Outshine is everything you want in a film festival, inviting, glowing, eclipsing all others before it. Their mission is to inspire, entertain, and educate, encouraging a sense of community through international and cultural diverse film, video, and other media that offer historical and contemporary perspectives on the LGBTQ experience. So welcome, Joe, to Queer News Tonight.
Thank you. It's outstanding to be here. Very excited.
You know, when I came down, I've had experience. I've been to many LGBT film festivals around the country. Outshine was unique first and foremost because it is a film festival that really celebrates the entire calendar year because of celebrating in two locations. That's very unique. I believe you're the only one in the country that is in two cities.
Yeah, thank you for noticing that. Other festivals will have mini festivals or they'll do things surrounding trans pride, which we also do, but it is nice to service two communities. And I don't know people realize the difference in the communities. They are very different, and we try not to just, sort of throw films out there to both markets. We really do separate films in each market to celebrate the diversity.
You know, coming from outside of South Florida, back in the days when I worked with RuPaul's Drag Race, the show, and other kinds of things. A lot of people that are listening to you tonight that'll see you outside of South Florida go, wait, what are you talking about? The north side of Chicago, the south side of Chicago. What is the difference? It's Chicago. Well, in South Florida, that's not the case. Miami-Dade County is very, very different than Fort Lauderdale and Broward County. And the festival this time around, our spring festival, April 22nd to May 1st, celebrates in Miami. Tell us a little bit about what's different between the two festivals.
Yeah. And again, when I say this, there are certainly exceptions, but typically our South Florida audience is very Spanish and Latin, Portuguese, so they love to see those films.
Wait, there's Hispanic people in Miami-Dade County?
A few.
Just a few. Okay.
And we celebrate that.
You learn everything.
But that's not all.
Right.
So we don't just show those types of films. We show a broad array of films. And typically South Florida, Miami likes more, for lack of a better term, artsy, and I don't mean that's necessarily very heavy or, non-commercial, just a very sort of different kind of vibe. Broward tends to like things more American independent, more English language, but they do accept a variety of films as well. So it is, again, when I'm programming for each market, you have to sort of remember what you're programming for and what film works best in which market.
You know, Joe Bilancio is the director of programming for the film festival, so you're really one of the key voices that put it all together. So you're the one that gets all the credit or all of the blame, depending on what year, what season. Interesting, before we talk about pandemic, let's talk about the two different festivals from the standpoint of you kind of live in between. I understand you're in between South Beach and you're in between Wilton Manors and Wilton Drive. All right, now with that experience, come out and admit it. Which community is better, Miami or Fort Lauderdale?
That's like my favorite child. It's not going to happen. I really do appreciate and I find myself involved in both communities. So I really do. There are things I appreciate about each, but again, they are different, and it's fun to think sometimes. We'll be sitting in a meeting, and you'll have to remember, wait, is this Miami? Is this Fort Lauderdale?
Yeah.
And then we do things sort of in between in the off season.
Yeah.
So we really are trying to focus and make sure we're hitting, and not that we don't want other communities to come, like we'd love for people from Miami to come to Fort Lauderdale.
You know, Joe, I don't know if you know this, but this year in 22 is the midterm elections. I've interviewed all of the gubernatorial candidates this year, and you're ready to run for governor of Florida.
Yes.
Okay.
Win.
Win. Exactly, right. So Outshine's coming up, the Miami edition this spring. We can't wait for the return of the Broward, Fort Lauderdale edition in October. Specifically talking about the film festival, I think one of the other interesting things about our support at Happening On Television Network is that this has been a couple of tough years for the film festival, all of our LGBT 501c3s. But tell us what it's been like for you to be a director of programming for a film festival that is designed to be able to have somebody sit in the dark right next to you. And oh wait, we're talking about film, by the way.
I knew where you were going.
Right, exactly. Tell us what it's been like of the loss of that, of having to be digital over the last couple of years.
To be quite frank, it's been awful. We do this because we love our community. We love seeing these people. People would take time off work just so they could spend the week with us. And that you do, you know, it's kind of cliche, but it's true. You really become family. You see these people, you know about their families and their husbands, and it was really sad to not be able to do that. But there are some ways where it did allow us to do things we were never able to do before. We could do Q&As with people who we would never have the financial ability to bring into the market. We were able to continue to show things to people when they actually needed it. So for us, that was sort of the silver lining in a place where it's difficult to find a silver lining. So while we do miss the people, we're so excited to have them back. There were ways that we could continue to bring programming. It was difficult as a programmer because films weren't being made in the numbers that were being made pre-pandemic. Yeah. So
I recognize that in Fort Lauderdale in the fall when I watched so many of your homemade movies that you personally made showing. No,
yeah, no, that wasn't. Yeah, I always say, I think people think that I'm like a frustrated filmmaker or a filmmaker, and I'm not. I appreciate the art of film, and I know that I can't do it. Yeah. So I think my skills better lie where I am.
Yeah, well, before we talk about the festival and the films that you're presenting, specifically going through a pandemic and trying to reinvent the wheel of a ticket buyer and a digital ticket experience, it must have been financially really tough on Outshine. I mean, after all, you're not a big corporation and you don't have the ability like Coca-Cola to sit there forever. You know, we can't sell our Cokes this week. We're okay. Outshine really needed that support that got interrupted.
They did, and we were so lucky that so many of our supporters, our individual donors, kept us alive and kept saying, we believe in what you do, we know this is going to end. I don't think anybody thought that it was going to end much later than it did, and still may not have ended. But they said, you're going to get back to doing things live and in person, and we're with you. So they continued their support. Many of the grants organizations did the same thing and continued their support. But it really was through the support of their doing and our individual donors, again, who just said, keep it going. And again, we were lucky that we were able to provide programming of any kind.
Yeah,
so it was difficult, and
well, the Outshine Film Festival has survived, and now it's beginning to thrive again, which is exciting. Now, in that vein, go through the program. It starts the 22nd, Friday night, and goes through May 1. Walk through the festival for us. What are the big things that we should be paying attention to?
Well, everything. We do have our gala spots, and that we call our opening night, which is B-Boy Blues, based on a wonderful seminal African-American book of 1994. And if you're a literature fan, it's really, really similar to the movie. So the book and the movie, I think you'll notice some of the sort of the similarities. We do that at the Lyric Theater, which is part of the Black Archives. So it's sort of symbiotic that we are doing an African American film at a place that was known on the Cotton Club circuit, and it was known for their sort of supporting of African American artists who had no support.
Right.
Our centerpiece is the Botanical Gardens. So even though outdoor screenings are not necessary anymore, we love them. We love doing the drive-ins, and this is sort of an outdoor screening, very sort of relaxing, a Finnish film, girl picture, just kind of a cute, sexy women, but just a really unique and interesting story.
And when you mention that, let's make sure we get that in.
Sexy women?
Okay. But the diversity embracement, the Outshine Film Festival is not just gay men and the embracement of gay men. You're looking at broad embracement, trans, color, men, women.
Yes, thank you.
It's a
for
commitment
noticing.
at the festival.
It is. We take pride in not only of gay men. It's not only beautiful gay men, although we do have that. It's bears. It's it's really all. It's younger. It's older, and we seek out films that specifically talk about the breadth and the variety and the experiences of all of our communities. So, and then trans films aren't always easy to find, but we make them. We don't make them. We make sure that we find them because it's important.
Yeah. And so you do the Botanical Gardens. How does the rest of the program?
And then closing night is at the Sandrill Rivers, which again is another predominantly African American theater company, but has a venue as well for film. So we're excited to be closing with a very fun. You don't often have action movies that are true action movies, like a Bruce Willis Die Hard, that kind of film. And this is Cop Secret from Iceland, where it's a very lots of things blow up, but they're also two men who love each other at the core. So it's we're happy to do that. And our two other spotlights, our women's spotlight, is a beautiful French film called Anais in Love, and that has a party to follow. And then our men's spotlight.
Wait, we have to party and watch the film?
We do.
Joe.
It's all, again, it's the breadth. Some people like that. Some people might prefer the party to the film. Some people might prefer the film to the party.
Or perhaps both.
But both. And that's what we give them the option and opportunity to do. And Lonesome is our men's spotlight film. And that's a hot, hunky Australian film. I'll leave it at
terrible.
that. I know, I thought you'd have trouble with that.
That's terrible.
And I hate to, it's also a really good film. I hate to use those adjectives, but they're true, but the film is also very great.
All right. Well, you should use those because you got my attention.
There you go.
Joe, approximately how many films does the film festival in this go round in Miami?
We'll have over 80. So that shorts,
films.
we have 3 shorts programs as well. Shorts you never see.
Right.
Festivals are always a great way to see short films. And I always say, other people more than me, say, I like shorts because if you don't like it, another one comes in 10 minutes.
Yeah.
We like to think of it the other way.
About,
Right. I'm going to have to watch, I'm going to have to edit what I say.
I know.
It's going to be an hour-long interview and I could say virtually nothing.
Yes, right.
But I like to look at it the other way but it's also sad in a short that you really like because then you only have 10 minutes of it.
Yeah.
So
now, I understand in this instance, many of the films are in person. That's new since pandemic broke out in January of 2020. And then you have a combination of hybrid where you can watch it also digitally.
Correct. All but about 10 of our films are available both in person and online. A few are just online, and then a few are just in person. Those are mostly the Galas spots. And a lot of that is based on distributor desire. Distributors during the pandemic weren't really sure what to do with their films. So they were like, I don't know whether we want to do virtual. And now they're starting to understand the sort of the place that virtual holds. And we think there are still people who may not be comfortable to come out into especially an indoor setting. So they're starting to, again, we want to be able to reach those as many people as we can with all of our films, and it's just, unfortunately, we can't do all of them in person. And
Joe, help somebody, a listener, a watcher that is listening to you right now in the Outshine Film Festival, the Miami edition. There's lots of conversation. My goodness, we have so many platforms now. There's Netflix and 54 others, and everyone, the predominant comment I hear about LGBT content is, oh well, we can watch it someplace. Tell us why a film festival festival for LGBT is important in this day and age.
And it goes back to something you mentioned earlier about it's always great to see that, to consume that content with people like you. You were sitting in a darkened theater with
There you go again.
somebody. Yeah, it was
But
you.
you got my
That was
attention.
you
Right.
sitting in a darkened theater with somebody next to you who has the same sensibility.
Yeah.
They get it. They understand. They've been in that sort of situation, and they sort of, you know, whether it's a feeling or whether it's an inside joke, they get it, and there's something about that. Also, many of our films, most of the films will eventually come on a platform, be it Netflix or Hulu, but not all. And others might take a very long time. So while yes, they could be available for consumption differently later, it's like really we are the first place to see it. And a lot of our films, they're the first place to see. We have a lot of North American premieres, we have a couple international premieres, a couple world premieres. So you're the first audience, not only first audience in Miami, but the first audience anywhere to see a film. And that's kind of exciting for some people.
You know, Joe, I have to echo your observation with a story from my seat, because that was exactly what happened in Fort Lauderdale. I went to the Science Center in downtown Fort Lauderdale for Firebird. I had not heard of the film. I watched the film in IMAX. The film was absolutely awesome. It was just an incredible film. I'm sitting with hundreds and hundreds of LGBTQ people, and I thought it was interesting. Just 2 months ago, all of the big news. I'm reading an Out, and I'm reading an Advocate. Wow, there's this great new film coming to the United States called Firebird, and I'm going, wait, the Outshine Film Festival debuted that 5 months ago. And I thought, there it is. That's why an LGBTQ film festival, especially a festival like Outshine, is so important, because you're going to get to see films with people that maybe you're eventually going to see in digital platforms, but you're going to get to see it in early and in a way that you want to consume it. And I was a perfect example of the success of Outshine.
And we had guests involved too, so that's always fun. It's sort of, you know, guests are great because they can tell you, you know, what their thought was behind either making the film or acting in the film. And
there were
it's
questions.
Really great.
The Firebird is about a fighter pilot in the Soviet Union, and being married and having a relationship with another soldier. And it was a beautiful film. And when they participated, people got to ask them questions about what their motivation of this kiss or this hug was. A very special opportunity in watching LGBTQ film that you can't get anywhere else.
Right.
You can't stop Netflix and say, wait, I got a question here. It doesn't work that way.
No.
At Outshine Film Festival, it does.
Yeah, and we're very proud of that. And we continue to have guests. And the other thing is, our guests almost always send us a letter back, an email, and say, your audiences are smart.
Yeah.
Your audiences really had, you know, we get the same question.
Well, Joe,
but
I
your
was in the
audience,
audience.
it might have been your question.
It might have
They
been.
might have said,
Right.
L was great. And some people are hesitant to ask questions, and I never get that, because they're there to hear what you have to say.
A festival is an interactive experience.
Absolutely.
So, be confident. Joe, last question. Help everybody understand. You want to participate in the festival, see the films, participate in the parties, meet the guests that come. How do they go about getting tickets for both in-person and digital?
The easiest way, not only to get tickets, but information on everything, is outshinefilm.com. And if they ever have any questions, there's, you know, contact on there. I'm Joe at Outshine Film, and I'm going to get tons of emails now, but that's fine. We love interacting.
I'm sorry, that email address one more time is?
Joe at outshinefilm.com. No dates though, but I'm very happy to, you know, again, we love film. We're very happy to, you know, to engage with our audience, however that is, and we just love to see people.
You know, just one last reminder for all of you. We have been through the most dramatic and dire 25 months ever in LGBTQ history. We're living the history. Not since Stonewall has something so dramatic occurred in our community. And those that have taken it on the chin are LGBTQ 501c nonprofits, like the Outshine Film Festival. It's a cultural event unlike anything else here in South Florida, and it deserves your support. So reach out to that address one more time in terms of tickets.
Outshinefilm.com.
Outshinefilm.com. Joe Bilancio, Director of Programming. We can't wait. Miami edition coming. And you didn't say you liked Fort Lauderdale better, but I'll just assume that you meant that, and that's coming in October. Can I put those words in
You can
your
make
mouth?
whatever assumption you want as long as it's labeled as Al's assumption.
Yes, exactly. Well, I think you just did that quite clearly. Join us April 22nd to May 1. April 22nd opening night event and party, and closing May 1st, the Outshine Film Festival, Miami edition. You don't want to miss this. Joe, thanks a lot for being with us tonight at Queer News Tonight.
Thanks for having me.
LGBTQ plus news is vital for our community and for the broader world as a whole. We have enough enemies at Fox News. Tucker, Sean, and Laura are loud. We need passionate allies. Happening Out television network, Queer News Tonight, and It's Happening Out are literally out of the closet and into the headlines. Our community needs your support. Like this broadcast and subscribe now to ensure the growth